Into the bottom left-hand corner of it all, with the blue Terran player representing Na'Vi, this is Spirit.
His opponent, all the way in the upper right-hand corner, rather, playing with the red Protoss pieces. It's Strange. It's actually quite interesting. If you look at the historical results, they really have had a lot of 2-1s. So Strange must have been on the cusp of winning a lot of them, but ultimately it's been since 2018 that he last won against Spirit in a series. A long while ago.
Yeah, that is a long way back. To be fair, I think Strange was very good back then. I feel like he peaked a little bit more recently, and then there was a season of these regionals where he didn't qualify, and it was such a shock. And I remember Roddy was talking about it, and he was like, man, it's crazy, because Strange is the kind of guy who, if you're playing on the EU ladder, you know he's top 32 in Europe. It's not even a question. But that's just how brutal Europe can be. He missed the qualification, he didn't get through, he missed out on a season, and that made a lot of people kind of sleep on Strange, but I feel like he has been coming back with a bit of a vengeance. We'll see if he can get the upset. It would be an upset if he was to take down Spirit. We'll see if he can get it done. Spirit has been so consistent over the last few years, of course. It's one of the things that he's greatly improved on, and he's very happy to play any kind of a game, a more aggressive game. He's happy to play it longer if he needs to. He can really play in all sorts of different manners.
No, you're absolutely right there. Spirit really is one of the best Terran players from the European region. Strange, though, certainly always very highly ranked on the ladder, right? Like, he's always been very good for a very long time, but making that step to actually beating the top-level Grandmasters is quite a significant one. Either way, we'll find out together here exactly what ended up going down, or what is gonna go down right here between these two. We do have a cheeky little engineering bay block.
Yeah, engineering bay block already just sort of saying to Strange, I think, is like, hey, I don't want you to mess around. Like, I'm going to control the pace of this game. I'm going to be like, hey, you can expand here, you can expand that. You know, basically Spirit says, I want to be in control of this. I want to be the one who is absolutely aware of what's going on. And engineering bay block does that. It keeps the unit home, it delays that initial expansion. It just gives you a bit of control and an idea of what's going on early as the Terran.
Absolutely. So Spirit is gonna just open up pretty normal here, right? Other than that engineering bay block. Pretty common strategy. It's gonna start just checking around the map, see exactly what's going on, confirm whether or not a Nexus was actually built. It'll be a Twilight Council opener right here from Strange. So broadly speaking, in the matchup right now, we see a lot of Stargate openers, but also, of course, a lot of Twilight Council openers. This should just be straight into a good old Blink. But when your expansion gets blocked right there, it is quite tricky, right, to decide if you want to, say, for example, go for like a 4-gate Blink push. That would be very committed.
Yep. Could be the kind of aggro that he wants, though. Get off to like a good start or so, and Reaper gets an immediate scout on the Twilight, so that's great. You get in, you scout, you get out, so the Reaper can still be used for more information later. It doesn't really get too much better than that, honestly.
Absolutely. Hallucination Scout over here is going to confirm exactly what is going on. Additional barracks have been scouted. There is a starport on the back of this as well. I don't think this can really be much of a surprise, but getting any of that confirmation is always extremely nice here for the Protoss player. Just know that everything is a-okay. He's gonna go for the Blink. We'll have to see how many gateways he decides to add on from here. For now, it's just gonna be a singular one, so we're gonna go up to 2 together with a Robo facility.
Yep, I'm bringing that Robo up. I mean, maybe with the Robo coming up, that's a world you can still add gateways, of course. Expanding is very viable as well, just move to 3 bases. That's a fair map to play the more macro game on. As the Stalker this time hits the Reaper hard as the Reaper comes in. Reaper will get a grenade to delay. The Hellion gets in as well. We're going to see everything again, although there's not much else to confirm apart from, I guess, at this point, a lack of additional gateways coming down in the base. And yeah, just obviously the threat of hitting those probes a little bit. Forge goes down as well, so we really do stay Strange now settling down into that macro setup, but I mean, it's still a Forge before Nexus, so really wants to prioritize that upgrade.
Yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one, but it is definitely looking like he is planning on making an expansion over to the 3rd base here momentarily. Spirit is going to continue putting on a little bit of pressure, bringing a few Widow Mines inside of a Medevac towards the right side of the map, and he'll be looking to see if he can potentially land those inside of the opponent's base. We do see a Robo Bay on the back of this too, actually, for Strange. So he decided to go Forge and Robo Bay before a 3rd Nexus.
Yeah, so it's really 2 base heavy, huh? Like, he does not want to take an expansion too soon. He does not want to fall into trouble, but this does mean that his army is going to be very strong. But if Spirit doesn't overextend, the lack of a Nexus, the lack of economy is going to be a problem for Strange further down the line, almost definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is one of those openers where Terran doesn't really need to do all too much. He actually scouts the timing here as well that Strange had envisioned for the third Nexus. So that is also very nice. I mean, Spirit he's got his finger on the pulse, right? He's all over this map so far. He's been scouting perfectly pretty much everywhere. You probably also noted right here that there is a little observer flying above. He does have that Widowmine drop hiding on the right side of the main base as well, and a little bit of dead space there just to make sure that he can fly in. And at this point, that observer does not quite see it. It's going to be arranged over here, and finally a third Nexus, arranged for the Colossus, that is. But yeah, the economy here for Strange is really nothing to write home about, and I don't think Spirit really needs to do a whole lot at this point. He can just continue playing macro himself, make another command center in a moment, and maybe test the waters a little bit, but he doesn't really have to punish Protoss for playing greedy or anything like that.
Yep. No, absolutely. Spirit just sits here. I feel like Spirit kind of likes this. It's like, man, you know, you're taking a very slow expansion. Yeah, okay, you're very tech heavy, but that just gives me a chance to get into the macro game. And we know Spirit loves that. That's kind of his sort of style.
That's what he used to do every game, man.
Yeah.
I feel like he got better when he stopped doing that every single game. But this is like historically, this is what Spirit loves to do.
Yeah, and look at this, because he knows there's no pressure coming, he just drops the third command center down on location as well, so he knows there's not going to be much to deny him from doing that. He gets a couple probes here, 3, 4 maybe. Good play. Widowmine dropping the main base. It's now all of a sudden he's hitting everywhere. It's been a very slow-going game, so Strange has to try and catch up with that. He splits the wrong set of probes somehow. That wasn't even as disastrous as it could be. There'll be a second mine in the natural, and Strange is being kept busy because there's a main army moving around the left side as well. Strange still hasn't seen this. Okay, now he does. He pulls back 1 probe only. And let's see how he deals with the push onto the third. I mean, there's a Colossus up. I don't think Spirit should really be trying to fight here.
No, I agree with you. Charge and range are just about to finish here. Range for that Colossus is, or for that group of Colossi even, is going to be fantastic. I feel like sitting here out on his opponent's side of the map is very dangerous because there is just about to be a power spike right now for, oh my god, more probes. Did he never clean that one up? 15 workers in total.
Yeah, that's brutal. A little bit more work and damage done, and now Strange's economy is really... I mean, it wasn't good to begin with, right? Now it's going to be even worse as... Oh, we kind of jump on this force. The tanks were not sieged. I mean, that's good. That's really the best part of this, right? Because Strange really caught Spirit unawares, and that's going to benefit him, but boy, did he need something like that.
Yeah, and that was obviously him almost getting a little bit lucky, catching his opponent middle of the unsiege. If Spirit would have been sitting there sieged up, that fight would have gone very different. Now the reinforcing Terran units, though, have shown up on the other side of the map, too. Colossus 1 goes down. Colossus number 2 is not going to be far behind. The third one is not necessary, apparently. Maybe he should have been there with his brothers. Raven over here, though, still being annoying, but that is really unfortunate. Losing 22 probes is just a little bit too much. And now suddenly, I mean, Spirit will be happy to sit back, right? He's got 3 base economy now. He needs to defend this army, but as long as he does, he's golden here.
Yeah, no, he has to play defense, right? But I mean, his army supply is fine to play defense, and there's only 1 Colossus. If you're ever going to lose this game, it's because there's like still 3 Colossi alive, and you can just never kill them. But that's just not the case at all, right? The Colossus count being knocked down is a huge part of the victory here for Spirit. And he's going to clean this up for a nice sub 10-minute game to open the opening map with. And it was all going kind of fine for Strange. Like, okay, it was a bit of a weirder build. It was something a bit different. And then, because the game was so slow, it just felt like he took a moment to, like, switch on the moment Spirit started doing everything, right? And then, you know, the Raven did a bunch of damage. The Widowmines did a lot. The Widowmines did even more. It felt like Strange was almost too comfortable playing slowly. And then, like I say, when the game sped up, it was very punishing for him.
No, absolutely. Just multi-point aggression right over there. Suddenly hitting the opponent at 3 different sites at once, right? That Raven in the natural, the army at the third, and the Widowmine drop in the main base. And that Widowmine then also got the fire twice. That's a sequence of events that should have gone a little bit better right there for our Protoss. But yeah, he ended up taking damage at basically every single angle, except for over at the third base, where he did manage to catch his opponent off guard. But imagine if that army was still siege right there for Spirit. It would have been a landslide victory.
I mean, that's the only reason Strange had any hope at all. He caught 1 army unsieged, and that was okay. But even then, he lost the Colossi, right? And so, yeah. All right. Well, game number 2, Crimson Core. Let's hope Strange can bring something a little bit better out. Just for the, you know, again, his build was fine. Just needs to be ready to deal with that aggression because you know Spirit will play like that. He is very capable of playing quickly and all over the place. You can't just let him kind of go unchecked. You can't just make mistakes like that. So, with that said, let's get ourselves into Crimson Court. We're going to be in the bottom left corner to start things out. Representing Na'Vi, the blue Terran player is Spirit.
And his opponent, all the way in the opposite corner of the map, we're looking at none other than Strange's Nexus. And sometimes when you're playing a passive game, suddenly your opponent will hit you everywhere at once. And you have to be able to just switch on, right? Like playing macro, you can kind of chill a little bit, you can cruise a little bit, and then suddenly when you're under a lot of pressure, that is one of the reasons why we see a lot of APM spam, for example, from players in the early game. I get that question all the time from people that don't watch a lot of StarCraft. It's like, hey, why are these guys spending 400 actions a minute making a bunch of drones or making a bunch of SCVs? Well, it's so they are turned on from, you know, for that base defense the entire time as soon as the opponent does decide to bring the heat. And I think Strange just found himself suddenly under a lot of pressure that he didn't expect, and well, he took way too much damage from it.
Yep. And this probe comes back across the natural. Just gonna have a little check around already. As do have the a little bit of a setup going on here, and just waiting to see what goes down. Probe gonna nibble at that SCV for a little bit then, so we get that on the go. And yeah, Nexus goes onto the natural as well, so we get that set up also for now. And we just wait to see what's next.
Absolutely. Cybercore goes down. We've got ourselves that Reaper Scout coming up in just a moment. Everything's very normal. No cheeky little engineering bay block or anything along those lines this time around. I don't think that really was something, though, that Strange was really caught off guard with. It's one of those things that happens frequently enough that I don't think it's really a curveball that Spirit showed him for the very first time, right? It's something that happens all of the time. But the follow-up was a little bit funky there from Strange. We both expected that the third Nexus was going to go down quite a bit sooner than that. It seemed like your pretty typical double gateway into a third base with the Blink opener, right? Blink keeps you safe against most things in that situation. If it was more gateways than that, maybe we expected a bit more aggression, but it kind of looked like a 2-gateway with Blink into a third Nexus opener, and then we saw the Forge coming down, and then we saw the Robo Bay following up, and ultimately it means that you end up with a lot of very powerful units, but obviously those units do need to be in the right place at the right time. Maybe if you play a little bit more greedily as far as eco goes, it's also easier to justify losing a bunch of probes, but especially when you do a follow-up like that, you can't really afford losing any workers.
Nope, you gotta keep them workers alive. You gotta keep that economy intact because you haven't got anything else going for yourself. So mistakes were made. This time a couple of Hellions on the way up from Spirit. We'll see how he tries to utilize those. Starport coming through, and all of this is being done with the CC on the high ground. Now floating to the low ground, so we'll have that in position very shortly as well. Get that CC set up to build.
Absolutely. Command center safely made inside of that main base. You do have to make, you have to make the little flight over there, right? It's going to be another Widowmine opening here for Spirit. Can't blame the man. It worked out really well in the previous game. Yeah, it's one of those things where the Widowmine did get nerfed, so the splash damage, I think it got reduced from like 1.75 to 1.5. So in the previous patch, maybe we would have seen a couple more, as we should see. Okay, enough defense here. That grenade was really lovely, bumping a bunch of those units out of the way. There was no energy for a force field or anything like that, but not enough damage here really to deal significant amounts of damage.
Just needs one more shot. He can get it. Still a couple of probes, but yeah, nothing too crazy. A minor probe pull off the line, so a little bit of lost mining time. That will be about that as a hallucination comes over. And the medevac loads up the 4 Widow Mines, and that will begin to boost out through the center, across the upper right as well.
Absolutely. Alrighty. So what exactly is going to be the follow-up right now for Strange? He is already moving on over and building a pylon a little bit closer towards that rich Vespian geyser, that base that we see taking quite a bit lately. Not exactly sure if you want to be taking that right here against the Terran player, though, but cheeky little Widowmine drop coming in. Now, there are Stalkers in the main base. Okay, this time around, the one in the main not dealing a lot of damage, but do we see this, please, Strange? Okay, he does pull the probes. Whew, that was so close.
So just going to unburrow, reburrow. I mean, if you do that a couple times, it just buys you even more time. As the Widowmine is now dropping the main base, this one will connect. Okay, yep. It's only a probe, so it wasn't really that bad. Could have been a whole lot worse. As we have the Stalker just going to go over. Widowmine just going to live back into the medevac and go away from there. The Raven about to finish up from Spirit. That Robobay now drops in as well.
Yep, apparently a big fan of going straight into that Colossus style once again. Third Nexus, though, is going to be taken in that triangle position, not opting to go for the forward expansion, right? The one with the rich Vespian geyser. It's been something that players have been experimenting with, but in this particular matchup, it's not the priority right now for Strange. Still one cheeky little Widow Mine opener. Yeah, one drop still ready to go in. One of the main advantages of opening up with a Stargate is that you can shut this sort of aggression down with relative ease, assuming you micro it correctly. But now it's always going to be a threat, right? Now it's always just going to sit there in the corner, whether or not you go Robo or, for example, Twilight Council is your tech of choice first. That Widow Mine is going to be... it needs to be in the back of your mind the entire series long.
Yep, it's just one of those things that keeps you permanently out of position with a couple of units, and such a cheap thing to keep there from the Terran player, then just why the heck not? Obviously, the Terran on the way to all of those bio upgrades. That's where Spirit will see a power spike in this game. That's where he might try and get something done, even against this now Colossus production coming through. Gonna see that Raven showing up once more. Gonna go around the right-hand side and look to hopefully grab some damage. You're looking to auto turret in the back of that natural in a moment or two. I'm actually gonna find an observer on the way, though. That's nice to grab because that removes map control and that allows drops to be more effective as we continue through this.
I don't know if he had enough energy for another turret there. I think he just barely got it, but he wanted to drop one. The Stalkers were already there. May as well hang that one on the right side of the map too. So we have a medevac drop, we have a Raven ready to fly in, and you know what? We found a bit of an angle. That's so cheeky. Just dropped it down. He's like, hey, I got 1 hit point. Come and take me down. And then he picked it back up when the probes were sent to fight it.
Yep. Takes it up, backs away. It's going to be seeing that combat shield, concussive shells, and plus 1 attack.
So mean.
Coming through. There's a couple gates will drop in as well. And now this bio push
sending a little reminder. Yep, now suddenly Spirit is ready to go for a push. So he's got himself Stimpack already done. Combat shields finished up as well. Plus 1 infantry weapons within a half minute or so. Concussive shells. He's just about to hit a very powerful army. That being said, though, Strange is already way up the tech himself too. So he's got himself that Colossus range finishing up nice and early once more. Plus 1 in the Forge also is going to be wrapped up in just a moment. And he's adding on a load of gateway production from here.
Plus 1 attack, send it down to lens, charge halfway done. We got our bio coming through and the pylon going to get knocked down. There's a lot on the way and soon here for our Protoss, but there's also a good powerful Terran army as well. So an interesting moment. You can see that 1 medevac peeling up the left side, trying to go and get something done. We'll be coming around the top very soon and moving into position in the next couple of moments.
Absolutely. More Widow Mines flying around the map. It is one of those things where suddenly it can hit you in the face if you're not careful. He scans, reveals that it's fine to back ones off once again, but... Alright, now we have a medevac drop heading on over towards the natural expansion too. This is one of those locations behind those golden minerals that's quite difficult to actually defend. Those Colossus, though, are having a grand old time here.
Yeah, the tank's obviously going to get a few shots off, but not really while supporting anything else. Everything else already lifted off and backed away. As the Widow Mine goes, hits a Stalker as well. I'm just going to be seeing this Widow Mine going to lift off and go elsewhere. This Stalker is also going to go down to Aster across the board. As, this Widow Mine goes down to the cannon.
He was waiting for his time to shine for like 5 minutes now, and finally, well... he just got shotted by a photon cannon. In the meantime, though, Spirit once more unloading the medevacs in the exact same spot. I kind of feel like you could even click the Nexus, which is going to be next. So, the Nexus? Anyways, he's going to try his best to see if he can shut it down. In the meantime, though, Strange has sent his entire army towards the other side of the map. Loads of SCVs have gone down. And keep in mind, he committed to tech really nice and early, so his army is strong. Widow Mine is going to be ready to fire once more, and loads of mines as well inside of the natural expansion, though, of Spirit.
Man, SCVs going down all over the shop, and obviously this push from Strange looking good, but then you've got this Bioforce on the other side, still applying some pressure, still getting some damage done, and that is adding up. We're just going to be seeing the SCVs continue to drop the bio up on the high ground, dropping a couple of EMPs. Problem is going to be those Colossi are not going to be really handled very well at all. This is what I said last game, right, where the problem is if there's 3 Colossi, it can be so difficult to reach them and do anything about them, and that is kind of what we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of damage coming out of those big Protoss units. 47 SCVs have gone down already. Where's those medevacs? Finally, they are back home, and they're going to be an absolute necessity. Nice pickup control here so far by Strange, trying to save those Colossi to the best of his abilities. Even gets greedy enough to warp in a bunch of units in the middle of this fight. I wonder if maybe he should have committed to microing them there instead. Either way, additional Zealots did pop out of the prism there. I think Spirit is going to be able to stabilize, but at this point, Strange does have the economical advantage.
Yep, that is going to be kind of a wacky set of fights. There's obviously now, economical advantage, but the army of Spirit is still just good. I mean, a lot of it's a medevac. Strange has a Colossus, and soon it'll be a couple of Archons, but that is really about it. So, Spirit can kind of go, right? I mean, and I guess as well, the fact that Strange has to rebuild the Nexus from scratch is kind of a big deal as well, so... That's
no battery overcharge, no nothing over there, so it's going to leave that base incredibly vulnerable. As a matter of fact, right now it's not even powered. Yeah, he doesn't know exactly what is left over, right? But I guess if you have map control and you have those medevacs, you may as well go ahead and give it a try. I think he wants to add on maybe a Ghost or two before he really goes, because he knows that there will likely be a bunch of Archons. That Observer sees everything right now. The Spirit does not see the Observer. Oh, don't siege it up.
Yeah,
you make it so obvious.
Don't let him see it, absolutely. It becomes way more obvious when it gets siege. That blur is there, but of course when you're playing quickly it's very easy to miss that blur, so not always a guarantee. As we just have ourselves the few more Zealots and Immortal coming up from the side of Strange. I mean, his army is getting rebuilt and reestablished. A Viking finds the Prism though, and that's a big deal, because obviously getting rid of the Prism is just going to remove so much of the potential of what Strange can do, and now those Zealots are going to be just kind of stuck there as well, so huge catch from Spirit. That goes so big for him.
The fact that Spirit managed to save that command center, of course, was absolutely massive, right? Lifting it up, sending it into the main base. It really makes the... there he goes once more. It really makes the follow-up here quite a bit easier to play. So despite the fact that he lost 48 workers, he can kind of climb back into this match as well economically. Now even apparently spending some of his cash on getting that +2 infantry attacks upgrade going, which is... a very important upgrade, of course, but it takes a long time to finish, so he believes he can get it done. Strange not really looking to go for any sort of aggression of his own. He fires up the +1 armor together with the Blink research, tries to rebuild the Colossi. So in a way, this game has almost been reset a little bit. Spirit not committing to the fight there. After that, that big push finally got cleaned up. I kind of felt like he could counterattack, but he's just saying, no, I'm just going to sit back. I'm just going to defend. I don't really need to take any risks. I have this this hit squad on the left side of the map in case you do decide to move across, so I can maybe kill a Nexus or at the very least deal some damage, maybe boost into the main base if I really need to. But other than that, I'm just gonna, play this relatively passively.
Yep. All of that looking pretty reasonable. I mean, this is no reason for kind of rush into anything from Spirit and from Strange as well, so we just sort of sit. I think Spirit feels very comfortable about things. I mean, there are more upgrades coming through from Strange. Again, that armor upgrade, the blink, so a bit more utility available. At the same time, Spirit works on his +2 attack, so both players advance in the situation, and Spirit decides to back away with that medevac squadron. Fall back home again. Down a bit of workers, but still maintain that army supply lead. And now that he's kind of on a more comfortable economy, you can just continue to build into the tech units on the rebuild as well, right? So Vikings and Ghost numbers are starting to look good. And that really means that in a larger fight, you're going to probably be feeling pretty darn good about things altogether.
Command center is going to be flying on over towards the left side of the map. That is the good old main base, the command center that he started the game off with. So he'll be taking that on the left side. That is not quite as easily fightable, I guess, for Strange. Although he's going to start to expand in that direction himself, too. One Marine very far forward, leading the rest of that army. The commanding officer himself. You'll love to see it, and he should scout that this Nexus indeed just started up. If Protoss does not move on over in that direction in a second, okay, he is moving in that spot. That Nexus can actually just be picked off for free. It's a massive EMP potential too, by the way, in this choke point.
That choke is looking pretty scary with gold minerals still choking up a lot of it. Here we go, EMP's drop and Archon just disappeared. A couple of Colossi in the back already starting to drop down. We should finish off one of those, and I think the other dies before the Vikings are going to be gone. Wow. When we get to land the Vikings. It's very convincing from Spirit in the end. Took a little while to get there, but convincing